it's B, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm really excited to introduce a new series that I'm going to be starting called Cakes and Cults. Now, how are these two things going to go together? Well, I'm going to bake a cake, and while that cake is baking and I'm putting all the ingredients together, I'm going to teach you about a cult. Today's cake is carrot cake. I'm going to link the recipe in the description below. And today's cult is Aum Shinrikyo. Aum Shinrikyo is a Japanese-based cult that is really big into doomsday in the worst possible way. So, without any further ado, Chizo Matsumoto was born in Japan on March 2nd, 1955. He was born to a poor Japanese family that was rather large, and they made tatami mats, which are the little reed-based mats. He was actually born with a congenital disorder that caused him to be completely blind in one eye and partially blind in the other. He went to a school for the blind where he was known to be a bully and extorted his fellow classmates for money. That's called foreshadowing, kids. In 1984, he started the cult. At the time, it was actually a self-improvement group and yoga group out of his one-bedroom apartment, and it was called Aum Shinsen no Kai, which means Immortal Wizards of the Mountain Association, which if you sold that to me, I'm in. You got me. I'm your #1 fan. If that's if that's what you're calling your cult, I'm in. You do not need to argue with me there. If you catch me looking down, I'm checking my notes and I'm checking my recipe. Do not come for me. Aum Shinrikyo's belief system was based around Tibetan Buddhism, the Bible, and Hinduism. And they actually did, in some parts, worship Shiva. But the biggest thing is that in 1992, when he wrote a book that kind of detailed his beliefs, Shoko Asahara, which is what Chizo Matsumoto changed his name to, so that he could be this shaman. Shoko Asahara called himself Christ, called himself the Lamb of God, and called himself the only enlightened master in Japan, which, we're off to a good start, totally within his realm of reality. It's not weird. It's not weird at all. The book was actually pretty controversial, as was everything that they did. And they actually were doing recruitment techniques by promising to cure illness and telling people that they could teach them how to concentrate on what's important so that they can be more successful. And they also said that they could improve your intelligence. So again, totally based in reality, not off his rocker whatsoever. The group actually started getting pretty big in the news because of rumored recruitment strategies. A lot of them used LSD in their recruitment strategies, which actually isn't super uncommon in the world of cults, because LSD makes you super susceptible to suggestion, and makes it pretty easy for them to go ahead and get you to agree to pretty much anything. Some of their practices are rumored to have people being held upside down, electric shock therapy, and this was all in the name of yoga. Because again, they started off as a yoga group and a self-improvement group. They weren't trying to hurt anybody in the beginning. At least that's how they sold it. I've gone to a few yoga classes. If someone's holding me upside down or subjecting me to electroshock, and that's what the yoga is supposed to look like, I want my money back, because that's not what I got. What the group is pretty well known for is the sarin gas attack of 1995. But they actually were pretty involved in some controversial and deadly actions before then. They were found to have murdered this anti-cult lawyer whose name was Tsutsumi Sakamoto. This was found after the sarin gas attacks, but his wife and his child were all missing, and himself, and this was after Shoko Asahara, also Chizuo Makamoto, went on the Tokyo Broadcasting Network, or Tokyo Broadcasting Channel, something like that, and did an interview. And the anti-cult lawyer actually had access to the interview before it aired, and he stopped it being aired. The group found out about it, and they went, it didn't go well. So the group murdered him. They were also known to plot assassinations of critics of their group. In 1993, they actually tried to cause an anthrax epidemic by releasing anthrax from like a cooling tower that they had possession of, but they were unsuccessful. It actually just smelled like a stink bomb. People were just calling into the police going, it really, really stinks. What is going on? So, good job. You at least were annoying. At the end of 1993, the group was actually in mass manufacturing their own kind of noxious gas called VX gas, as well as sarin gas, and they attempted to manufacture rifles called AK-74s. They were able to get a blueprint of this rifle, and they were unsuccessful. They were not able to successfully make a copy of that gun more than once. And the one gun that they were able to make, they used to kill 29 sheep. What did those sheep do to you? You guys are the sheep following this idiot. Anyway, after they were doing that, they actually attacked a couple of people using VX gas and murdered one. The gentleman's name was Kiyoshi Kariya, and he was trying to escape the group. His sister was getting threatening calls from the cult asking where he was, and he left a note saying, if I disappear, it was Aum Shinrikyo. They also were in a legal battle where they were fighting over some real estate, and they released sarin gas in this neighborhood where a bunch of these judges that were overseeing the trial were, and they ended up killing, I believe, 8 people and injured 500 more. They had done this before, but they weren't blamed. They weren't found to be a cult. The police actually concentrated on some innocent dude that lived in the neighborhood and weren't able to link the sarin gas attack in that neighborhood to Aum Shinrikyo until, again, after the 1995 attack. So on March 20th, 1995, on 5 Tokyo subway trains, there was a coordinated attack where sarin gas was released. It killed 13 people, injured 54 people, and affected almost 1,000 more. There are some estimates that it could be up to 6,000 people that were affected by the attack, but a lot of people are afraid to come forward because Aum Shinrikyo is known to attack those who criticize. So, over the next week after the attack of the sarin gas, when police were investigating, they went to different Aum Shinrikyo compounds. In those compounds, they found chemical weapons, biological weapons, a Russian helicopter, LSD, methamphetamines, and a crude truth serum, and cells holding people, prisoner, cells, like prisoner. Insane. This group was holding people against their will because they didn't want to lose their followers. Oh, that's good. Have their secret come out. And also, the group actually requested followers donate a ton of money. And Shoko Asahara said that he lived in like humble circumstances. Homie rode around in a armored Mercedes Benz. There ain't nothing humble about that. You know what's humble? My Nissan. That's humble. During the course of their investigation, the minister of their science department, so the person who would have overseen all the chemical weapons, all the biological weapons, whatever, was found stabbed to death. They also found an attempted hydrogen cyanide attack because someone found a burning bag and they stopped it from burning, and inside of it was a canister of this hydrogen cyanide gas that could have killed about 15,000 people because they were placing it next to vents that would have fed into the subway system. So they weren't done, honey. They weren't happy with those numbers. They wanted to get that up. Asahara was finally found in a wall, hidden in there in one of his compounds. And him and a number of his senior members of the cult were then arrested and sentenced to death. His preteen sons actually took over the overseeing of the cult, if you can believe it. And I'm just sitting there, like, I read that and I'm sitting there thinking, like, when I was 12, when I was a preteen, I was worried about, like, boys and, like, cartoons. They actually renamed the group to Aleph, so it still exists to this day. And they renamed their group to Aleph back in 2000 because they didn't want the the association with Aum Shinrikyo. And the person who took over the group at that time was a gentleman by the name of Fumihiro Yugo, and he took over the group, renamed it, and he was actually one of the only senior officers that weren't facing charges somehow. So either somebody's lying or he kept his nose clean. Who knows? Aum Shinrikyo is still in force today. They're still a cult. They have 1,650 members around the world. It actually gained some popularity in Russia, and they have 650 of those people actually living in communities, like communal housing. The cult has been in the news recently. They actually did a raid on the cult back in 2017 because they found that the cult was charging one woman for their services for like study sessions. I can speak. They were charging her tens of thousands of yen, which if I were smart, I would have looked up what that was in US currency, but your girl ain't smart. So your girl drinks dumb bitch juice. And then they were also in the news recently, I think it was 2019, yes. A sympathizer actually took his vehicle and drove into a crowd of people because he was upset. I'm going to even this out. He was upset about the executions. He didn't say which execution specifically, but it's believed that he was specifically upset about Shoko Asahara's execution, as he was executed with everyone else back in July of 2018. That's Aum Shinrikyo. You can do some more searching yourself. They actually had anime videos where they use that as like recruitment tools, and they're awful. They are so freaking wild. They show Shoko Asahara as like this magical being, because like his whole shtick was that he had oh, that's gonna be good. He had the ability to go ahead and take on your sins with his magical power and save the world, and then he can use that same spiritual power to go ahead and have you forgive your own sins. Again, he's Christ. Don't forget it. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and when I come back, we're going to have a decorated cake. I'm so excited. I'll see you guys soon. All right, here she is in all of her baked glory. I covered it in cream cheese frosting and covered it in walnuts, and that's it. She ain't pretty, she ain't anything fancy, but she's mine. Thank you so much for joining me on this inaugural episode of Cakes and Cults. I'm excited to learn about more cults with you. I'm excited to learn more about vegan baking with you and seeing where this journey takes us. If you have any cults or cakes that you want in the next episode, comment below. I am also going to link the Instagram for my friend Carrie, who was kind enough to make my logo. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a good one.